Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome, friends online. We're so delighted to have another evening opportunity to be with you, Ale. Thank you for being here. And just want to welcome everybody to the San Francisco Dharma Collective. This is a really sweet opportunity for us to kind of deepen our practice. Last night we had a beautiful dialogue in which some of the themes and ideas of these practices that Ale has been steeped in these last 30 years could start permeating through. And as he mentioned last night, we can expect the unexpected tonight, but a deepening into these traditions and these practices that have such a transformative quality. And I will try to give a little bit of a different intro than I did last night. So for folks who are here, there might be some things you don't know about Ale, and I mentioned his writing and his work and the depth of his practices in Tibetan yogas. And I hope he will speak a little bit more about those tonight. In my experience getting to teach with him, these practices can really transform your mood, in the moment, but also they have this power over time to have a sense of true connection with the elements and a real way to thread your well-being to the natural world, which I've seen you do so beautifully. And, other folks also know that he's been working with Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche for many years. We have such a deep respect for Rinpoche here in the Sangha. And for folks who are new, who haven't been here before, the Dharma Collective is a non-denominational Buddhist center. So we are so fortunate to have traditions from many different Buddhist lineages and even sometimes other contemplative practices. And our aspiration here is to give people an opportunity not only to sit and have an opportunity to get direct access to these teachings, but also build community. And so it's nice to see some new faces and new folks in our community this evening. One thing you might not know about Ale that really impressed me just a moment ago, which is he carries his own honey in his pocket, which I think is like a sign of enlightenment, probably, or like on the way, because, like the world is full of really bitter things and difficulties. And so if you bring your own honey, it's like a Shantideva quote. So I just want to say again, thank you so much for being here with us, and we're just so fortunate to have you in our community once again tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Eve. It's great to be here again and 2 nights in a row. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone online joining. I think I'll start actually with a short practice to ground us in or bringing us into this moment, both in terms of ourselves, but also in the collective, what sometimes Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche would call the collective refuge, right? So many times we talk about our individual refuge, but also the support. Yesterday we spoke about the importance of social support in health. And I think when we take refuge, when we are settling in, it's really important to acknowledge the support that we get from others. And others could be here, 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 in all 10 directions. So the more you're open, the more support you may get. So let's take just a few moments to settle. Many of you have different ways of practicing, and whatever way is useful for you to bring your mind's awareness with your breath into your body. Slowly bringing the attention of your mind with your breath. guiding it through your nose, if possible, into your body. And also as you exhale, back out through your nose or mouth, whatever is comfortable. As you do that a few times. Paying attention to that breath and guiding it through your nose and all the way into your abdomen. Maybe bringing a hand or both hands right in front of your belly button as you feel how that breath may help expand and inflate the abdomen like a balloon, receiving that air in the inhalation and letting it go in the exhalation. And if your mind gets distracted, gently bring it back to your breath. As you focus on your breath, I invite you to visualize that breath as green light, which is the color that in this Tibetan tradition we visualize the element of air, of wind, of Lung. So if your mind gets distracted, you bring it back to your nose, to the breath, to the green light. All these kinds of support, feeding it all the way into your abdomen and back through your nose. Allowing you to feel the sits bones on the chair or the cushion, the feet on the ground, and the support of Mother Earth. That embrace of Mother Earth, as we were saying yesterday, that huge apapachra. Noticing that any moment that your mind gets distracted, that's okay, just bring it back. Invite the attention to be back with your breath into your body. Supported by the feeling of the breath, the visualization of the breath as green light. The support of your cushion, the chair, the earth. The feeling of expanding and contracting your abdomen. And that from your sits bones, allow your spine to elongate, almost like vertebra by vertebra, almost like a cat stretching. Maybe you can even stretch your arms if that is comfortable, stretching them up. Still breathing from your nose into your abdomen and back through your nose and stretching up to the sky, allowing tensions to relieve, moving your hands and your fingers and your wrists and your elbows and your shoulders. Stretching, releasing. And if you have enough space, stretching outwards, maybe to the sides or up, pushing out from the shoulders, opening the chest, the upper back, the heart. Breathing in and out into the heart. Allowing the hands to come down, arms to come down, and letting the hands rest. Palms up on your lap, elbows out. So the back is straight. Allow the shoulders to relax so that chest area and heart can open a little more. Relax your jaw, tongue in your upper palate, breathing through your nose. Eyes can be closed but not too tight, or kindly open, looking to the tip of your nose and downwards in a peaceful gaze. The thumb is just kindly getting into the base of the ring fingers. Sitting physically, breathing and supporting the sitting emotionally. Sitting mentally. Sitting spiritually. Breathing and connecting to the stillness and resting in the stillness of the body. As you rest, allow that area of the heart to open and kind of feel open to feel the support of the group. Both the group in person, the group virtually, and even those outside that are not necessarily paying attention here. Still supporting in their own way. Breathing a few more times with awareness. Bringing the hand or both hands to your heart center. And having an intention for today's practice. An intention for you. An intention that may reach out to at least one more person. And slowly, as we keep on breathing consciously, open your eyes if they were closed. Allow yourself to be more fully present here. So hi again from this space. So today the topic is Tsa Lung. So I'll stay on topic. So Tsa Lung, right? Tsalung. So Tsa Lung really is, so it's a Tibetan word. Many times we we use kind of the broader umbrella in English we've been using is Tibetan yoga. And usually Tsa Lung is part of that Tibetan yoga. And Tsa means channels, Lung means breath. And again, it's a category of practices. So it's interesting how we use this term. So for example, in the communities of Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, the communities of Ligmincha, when we say Tsa Lung, we really mean Tsa Lung from the Mother Tantra, from this particular text, the Maji, Mother Tantra. Some people don't even know that it comes from there, but they just say Tsa Lung, but that's in that context what it means. But if we think outside, there's many Tsa Lung practices. So in a way, what we're doing with Tsa Lung or, kind of sister practices in other traditions of pranayama, right, is really paying attention to bringing the mind's attention on the breath and to start using the subtle body represented here by the channels. So in a moment, and yesterday we spoke a little bit about there's different maps of these channels. So I'll show you the map we work with. Again, one of the maps, it's not the only one. And that what's interesting about this, as the Mother Tantra and other texts also say, is that this map supports the mind guiding the breath in your body. And we know from many practices that we do that when we are focusing our mind, the breath is one of the main areas or main aspects where we focus, right? So in this text, it says that the breath is like a wild horse. Right? So many times you may notice that your breath is going this way, going that way, and emotions affect the breath. I'm sure Eve has spoken about this. And so emotions affect the breath, and we notice if we pay attention how we're feeling, right? So when maybe we are in fear, we start very shallow, very fast. And when we notice that, if we pay attention, it can be a great opportunity to change that breath, that breathing. And now if I'm breathing lower, meaning deeper and slower, after a little bit, my mood changes. I can slowly kind of have less fear, if that's what's happening, right? We can go into the whole lexicon of the fight or flight response and the relaxation response, right? And so in a way, I think what's really important here is that we have the capacity to change, right? In psychology and social work, we call it self-regulation, right? And I think this is really important, that to know that we have that capacity. Because usually we focus on the stressors and less on the stress and the potential that we have to change that, right? We say, this is stressing me out. You are stressing me out. This relationship is stressing me out, right? Which basically what we're saying is, it's not my fault. And it's not a question of fault, it's a question of taking the reins back. So what the Mother Tantra says, yes, the breath is a wild horse, but your mind is the rider. So you have the reins. So are you going to use them? Right? And so as we use them, that's what we're doing when we are self-regulating. We're saying, okay, we're guiding that horse. And when we have an internal map, the channels are places through which, or pathways through which, we can guide this breath. And within those channels, and particularly as we bring it to the central channel, there's these areas that yesterday I was mentioning as both places of energetic traffic jam or opportunities of letting that energy flow. And again, when we get stuck in these areas, all our attention goes to the stuckness, right? And so partly, if we are able to focus to unstuck and let things flow, we notice that not only the body is flowing, but the mind is flowing. And in a way, what we're doing is, as again, psychology uses this term of flow, which is a term of you can be in that flow state of mind. In a way, it's a moving, kindly state of mind. And interesting enough, this position that I was inviting you to be in the beginning practice, we call it the position of the Garuda or the eagle. And it's the position that is the Garuda or the eagle soaring in the sky. So, you know, the Garuda, the eagle, any bird, there's flying and there's soaring, right? So what's the difference between flying and soaring? Effort, yeah. They're both moving in a way. One moves more than other, but one has effort and one just... So many times when we're doing all these methods of meditation, whether it's chanting, movement, focus, we are putting that effort so that then, what's the word that we used yesterday? After effort, we rest. Right? Rest. Rest is the most important part of whatever meditation we do. Right? Now, rest with awareness, right? Because otherwise, sometimes we rest with this famous mantra. That, it's a different rest, right? And I know Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche is emphasizing the importance of sleep, and I do too, but not necessarily when you meditate. There is sleep yoga and different practice. So partly is we notice when we need to do and when we need to rest. And most of the doing, it's about resting. So when we talk about Tibetan yoga, whether it's Tsa Lung or it's Sister Trungkor, it's all about these movement practices that help move that breath through our system so that we can rest. So that we are doing different flappings so that then we can rest. If we could really just rest, we don't need all these movements. But because the majority of us can't just rest, the movements can be very helpful. You know, in my first trip to India, I ended up staying 9 months, so I call it my second gestation period. Actually, my first one was only 8 months. But, you know, I remember one of the first teachers I met, Yuji Krishnamurti, not the famous one, JD, but Yuji, and he was fantastic. He was teaching on basically letting what's all the stuff that we have in this mind to let it go. Right? And I was coming from studying communications and philosophy, so I had a lot of stuff in here. And so after a few hours of sitting with him, I feel a sense of crumbling. But actually, it was It was a great crumbling. It was like, I was carrying this backpack full of rocks up here, right? So suddenly I'm relaxed. And when he noticed that, he said, now just be. I was like, what? What is just be? And he wouldn't say anything else for 3 days and just be. And I was like, be, I was trying to see what others did in being. And after 3 days, I left because I had no idea what to do in being. So I was looking for doing. So meandering through different parts of India and then getting to Dharamsala, I found out that the Tibetans have the thing called ngondro, or foundational or preliminary practices, that there's a lot of doing. 100,000 of this, 100,000 of that. And actually, I love the idea. I know a lot of people are like, really? You know, when the teachers tells them, you know, you have to do 100,000 of this mantra and 100,000 prostration, they're like, no way. Or you can see the eyes rolling, you know. I was like, yes, now I know, at least I know what to do. Okay, just tell me how to do the prostration. Tell me how to do the mandala offering. I'll just do it. It'll just take a little time, but I'll do it. And so, doing. But after every part of the doing, there's resting. So whether you do, you know, at a time 100, 200, 300 prostrations, then you sit and rest. You do 100, 300 mandala offerings, then you sit and rest. You do 100,000, whatever, how many 100 mantras, you sit and rest. So resting is always what you come back to. It's always coming back to rest. So what happens? Yesterday I mentioned that the word gom, meditation in Tibetan, is related to kom, which means familiarity. So now you're getting familiar both with the method that you're doing, but also with the resting. That we call the wisdom part that we're getting familiar with. That state of mind of being aware and resting. And so slowly, that's part of the meditation, is both the method and the wisdom. We go back and forth, which we also talk about being the two wings of the Garuda, and then rest and flow, right? And so we're coming back always to this resting with awareness. And as we do these practices, the Tibetan tradition happens to be very rich in methods, right? A lot of times people say, well, I meditate, right? And I say, what meditation do you do? Well, general meditation. I never know what they mean by general, you know. So, because in the Tibetan, they're so specific. There's this meditation, that meditation, that meditation. And they're all, yes, so maybe it's, my imagination is, it's one of those, you know, at least. But basically, one of the advantages of knowing different ones is that they become like tools that you have in your toolbox, and you can use them in different situations, whether it's for different emotions or for different things that are happening that we notice don't allow us to stay in that, what we call our natural state of mind. And so we have these tools that we start using to regulate again back to that state of mind, right? So far, all good. So within those tools, there are physical tools that are part of this Tsa Lung. Now, many times in Tibetan traditions, they've been kept a little bit secret. And partly is because they move the lung in your body, and so it can promote different states of mind. And so in many of the texts of these practices come more at the end, because first you're asked to train your mind, to train your breath, and then the body becomes like this machinery that helps guide the breath in and the mind with it, so that from that effort you go back to the effortless, right? So even though in many cases, even still today, they remain more secretive, also many of the teachers, particularly as they came to the West, they more open these practices. In fact, I don't know, maybe many of you have traveled back to India, Nepal, Tibet, Bhutan, and if you go, for example, to the monasteries, but even into lay communities, all the practices that we've received in Dharma centers, they've never received unless they've been there for a long, long time. We've been very fortunate. Why? Because the teachers, as they came to the West, they said, we need to preserve this. And they felt, a lot of times in monasteries, for example, they're also the schools. So they start with, the alphabet, right? That's what they start with in most monasteries. And so there's a lot of this learning curve until they then learn practices, and then, they start learning more and more. Also, what happens in many monasteries is that there's certain practice that if they promote too much of internal stuff, they try to remain calm there, so they don't necessarily do them in the monastery. There's other places, in caves and so forth. So a lot of this Tibetan yoga have only started coming more openly maybe in the last 30, 40 years. I think one of the first teachers who started really bringing it out openly was Namkhai Norbu Rinpoche, and he called it Yantra Yoga. It was actually from a Trungkor text called the Nida Kajor, or the Union of Sun and Moon. But he felt, well, for the audiences in the West that they already know yoga, let's call it Yantra Yoga. So at least they have some connection to, if they say Tsa Lung or Tsa Lung Trungkor, they're like, what are you talking about, right? So Yantra Yoga, they think they know what they're talking about. It's like, I know people, they say, what do you do? Yoga. Oh, yeah. But they don't ask what kind of yoga, or it's like the meditation. I do general yoga, So partly is starting to know that these practices can be tools, again, to come back to that meditative state. And so as Namkhai Norbu Rinpoche started bringing them, students started noticing that this can be actually very helpful. And then other teachers, particularly Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, started also bringing these practices. And in fact, I'll show in a moment one of his books that maybe some of you know, Awakening the Sacred Body, just at Tsa Lung, which I think it's the most beautiful title, right? You're awakening your sacred body, right? That subtle body, that inner architecture. So, and this book was written, I think, around 2010 or so. So there's been quite some time where these practices have been opened up. And again, there's different ways of teaching it to support the students to start noticing how to work with them. And there's aspects of them that are more external, meaning that they focus more with the support of the body. There's more internal, meaning that their support is more the breath. And then there's the secret, or the most internal, which is that it's the main support is the mind and the visualization, as we were saying yesterday. And so I'll mention a little bit of that, and we'll do some too. Now, the main point is, and I was mentioning yesterday, as Namkar Nobu Rinpoche would say, the most important part is to remember, and as Lopon was saying in Mexico, right? Not to forget that you are Buddhas, that you are already enlightened. We are all, if you don't like the term Buddha, you are enlightened, you have all your human potential in you. But we are in base, so then we need to find the right path to get it to fruition, right? But in base we are, so that's important to know, because if we know that, the possibility of flourishing is there. We don't have to go looking other place. We don't have to look for who's going to give it to me. You already have it, right? So all you have to do is to discover it, uncover it, and then, again, yesterday we spoke, and I know Eve loves this, awe, right? The sense of awe. The little bulb in the ding, right? So when we have that, what do? We rest. So all these moments of connection, whether it's through the body, through the breath, through the mind, the most important is that when you get that connection, then you rest. And when you rest, you're able to maintain it. Otherwise, it's easy to lose it. I think many of you, most of you, remember when the internet was not just what's the password, right? It was something like diri 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 diri, right? And when you connected, right? Now you connected to the whole wide world. So as you connect to that web of interconnectedness, tendril, right? Now you're not just connected to yourself, you're feeling the whole interconnectedness. But then it's easy to lose that connection. So then we have to diri 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 diri. So what's the diri diri diri? The diri 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 could be focused meditation, could be chanting, could be breathing, could be Tibetan yoga, could be other yogas. These are all ways of diri 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 diri. But then the most important part is the resting. Otherwise, you stay in the doing, right? You keep on flying and never resting. You do this movement or this mantra, and as you finish, instead of resting, what do you do? What's the next one? So the most important part, and I remember learning this already in the Nondro, whatever part you're accumulating, whether it's prostrations, mandala offering, mantra, whatever it is, the most important part is the resting. So all the doings are to clear, and then the resting is to nourish, right? So we have two very important terms in Tibetan. In Tibetan yoga, they're very much mentioned. But these two concepts are, I think, in all the practices. And one is Geksel. And so sel means to clear. Gek means gek, right? Gek. You know, all that gek that we carry, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, we clear, right? Geksel. So clearing the gek in your system. And then when you're clearing, so when it's already clean, you don't need to keep on cleaning. You just enjoy it. Beautiful, right? Beautiful. Now my heart is shining. Great. Let me rest on it. Smile in your heart. Just enjoy it now. So all these practices that we do to clear are about to be able to rest in that more clear state of mind, right? So yesterday I gave the example of kind of a mundane practice, if you would, which is the shower, right? That when we shower, this Tibetan friend was telling me how when we shower, we don't need to keep on thinking of all the appointments or of what we're going to do or what we didn't do or so forth, but rather just allow ourselves to clear, not just externally, but also internally. And that when we clear internally, our heart becomes like a crystal. And then as we rest on that, maybe we dry ourselves and so forth, then it's like that awareness is like light, that with that crystal, now it brings rays or rainbows into your day. And you let those actions of your body, speech, and mind be led by those rays, right? And so when we clear, we allow that crystal to be clear so the awareness can shine through. That shining in the resting we call Bugden, or enhancing our meditative practice, enhancing our contemplative practice. And so these are the two main things that we do in most practices. So Tsa Lung and Trungkor are very, very useful for that. I got really, fell in love with them in my first trip to Nepal, my second trip to Nepal, but my first trip to the monastery, to Tritanobutse, to Lopon's monastery. And by total chance, this monk was coming from Amdo, and the abbot of the monastery, Khenpo Wangyal, said, "We are 4 foreigners from 4 different places, one from Switzerland, one from Hong Kong, one from Italy, and me from Argentina." And he said, "Do you want to learn?" I said, "Sure." We all had been also students of Namkhanor Rinpoche, so we knew a little bit of Yantra Yoga. And so in 3 days, in a place that had no rug, no yoga mat, it was cement, we did 40 movements, ta, 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 ta. Luckily, amongst the 4 of us, there was a woman. And she wrote down things and made nice little figures, what do you call stick figures? Is that it? And we all photocopied them. I still have those photocopies. So, but from those photocopies, when I came back then to the United States and met with Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, he said, "Come every morning, 5 a.m., and we'll study this." And so that's how I started learning. And then at one point he said, "Now go start teaching them." And then he brought more of the Tsa Lung practices. And so for me, since then, that has been my regular practice. And there's many ways of practicing them. There's more intense ways, there's simple ways. And one of the beauties of these simple ways is that you can bring them, you can do 5 minutes of practice or 10 minutes of practice every day. Eric and I do every morning, when we wake up, we have a little ritual where we do some breathings, we do some movements, and then we drink mate. And then we talk about the day, and then each one goes their way. But we already have worked with our subtle body, with our sound, with our resting, being a little more kind of clear the inner crystal so more of that light can come through. And so again, I think a lot of people don't do the practices because they think, I don't have an hour to practice. So my encouragement is even 5 minutes is beautiful 5 minutes of practice and can actually extend to the other 23 hours and 55 minutes, right, of your day. So I'll share some practices of that as well. So I'm going to share some slides just to get some, are they going to be there or here? How is this?
They'll be there. If you share them
Okay,
on Zoom, then they'll come onto our big screen.
into the big screen. There we go. Is this the one? Let me see. Before we share, I want to be, okay. Microsoft presentation, PowerPoint. I think it's this one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is Utsila. It moves faster. Okay, that's okay. We'll let it have its own mind. There's a chat. Okay. So this is like, for this practice, if you would take an x-ray of yourself, that would be it. Right, so those are the 3 channels. So let me see my cursor. You can see my cursor there? Yeah. So the central channel, the blue channel, all the way down. So usually we say it starts 4-finger below our navel. So for other contemplative movement practices like the Tantien, and so it goes up the crown, and actually, I don't know if you see that there, but it opens. It's like a little opening up, so that it means that it goes beyond you, right? So it connects to the universe there. But also, as I was saying yesterday, even beyond the 4 fingers below the navel, you can also feel that you're connected to the center of the earth. So this central channel is a great support for grounding, like the inner axis mundi. And then it has the 2 sides, the red and white are the side channels, which are almost like, you can think of, you want to be on the freeway, which is the central channel, but sometimes you have to take the feeder, right? So sometimes you're in the red feeder, sometimes you're in the white, depending on, sometimes we talk about different emotions, particularly we call that the 3 main emotions that we are hooked into and that we want to clear are anger or aversion, and attachment or control, and doubt or ignorance. And so as we clear those, we can come into the central channel and be more in that central channel. And as we are in the central channel, we find that there's different areas, chakras, energetic centers, what I was saying, places where our energy gets stuck or can flow. And I mentioned this yesterday, but I'll mention it again. Yes, we work with 5 chakras. I know some people work with 7. Lucky you. We lost 2 on the way, but there's actually 72,000 or more chakras. So in this particular practice, we work with 5. Some actually we work with 3, some we work with 1. So there's no lack of chakras. It's just that for this particular practice, we use 5. And they relate to 5 different winds, to the 5 elements, and I'll talk more on that. But more importantly, these are 5 main areas in our body that we work with. Now, I wanted to share this. This is Bön Tenzin Namdak, Yongdzin Tenzin Namdak. I mentioned that I was just coming from Nepal he just recently passed away after his 100th birthday. And actually, this is the dedication of my last book that I thought might be good to share with you. Because as I shared this with him, and as I say, through him, I entered the Bön teachings in 91, and he's been a constant support. This is the part that I wanted to share, that when I'm in difficulties, I hear his words because I used to call him and tell him about things of my life. And he says, don't forget we're in samsara, right? And I can visualize him with this beautiful smile, right? And when I visualize that, it's like the obstacles dissolve like snowflakes in the water, in the ocean, right? But when that didn't happen, I practiced this magical movements, this Tsa Lung, right? So in a way, again, if in that moment I can be in that state of mind, then I don't need to practice. But because most of the times I don't, I'm not able to let them be like snowflakes in the ocean. They're more like ninja flakes trying to dissolve. So I do these practices. Now, this is a very important photo, actually. This is just when he passed away. And he stayed in meditation for a week. So there, he's in what we call Tugdam, a very special state of mind. And so that's what led me to travel and be with his body. I came back 2 days ago. And being in that presence is just very, very, very special. And I was talking to the monks and around him, and they were saying how this experience has changed their lives in a, I mean, they're always, admired. Lopon has always been like this amazing teacher. But you get to a point with a teacher that it's, of course, it's also a human being. And then when this happened, it was like huge moment of awe, right? It's like, and so, yeah, I wanted to, they allowed, again, I think we need to understand that things that in the past were very secretive, today they're more open. I was actually surprised how they shared this in the internet, right? Before, I remember the first teacher I saw in Tukdam, they basically allowed me to see through the crack of the door, right? It was like, that was it. Now it's in the internet. But regardless, even if it is, the sense of being able to be is just very precious. And this is many years ago. This is in 2000, a photo that I took in the monastery of Lopon with Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche. Many of you know Rinpoche. He was here maybe last year. And so, in a way, is this continuation of the lineage. In fact, the first time I saw them together back in '94, it was very clear to me that that refuge tree was totally alive. It was not just a tanka, right? And these are the practices that I was mentioning. This is the book by Rinpoche, Awakening the Sacred Body. And then when I started studying this deeper, I worked with other texts. This is from the Atri. This is a book, actually. I saw it in the front there. And then this is another book I wrote. Actually, this was part of my dissertation. But these are all practices of this Tibetan yoga. By the way, those thumbs are not, those things are not just dirty, it's thumbprints, which usually is a sense of this connecting with actually. So this is Lopon and this is his thumbprint. So it's a very typical Tibetan way of kind of blessing, right? And so, but also many years later, I, with their blessings, together with Lorenzo Cohen, we were mentioning yesterday at MD Anderson, we started bringing these practices into the medical center and doing these practices with doing research, doing clinic, and particularly these were 3 main areas of research. We were able to get grants, we published papers, and basically these practices can be very helpful to, again, to, on one hand, it has this aspect of Gexel, of clearing obstacles, whether they're physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, but also to help reconnect to that natural state of mind. So that aspect of spirituality. And interesting enough, in all our research, we always ask this aspect of spirituality, which doesn't mean, are you religious or non-religious? Are you meditator? It means, how are you connecting kind of to yourself and to something beyond you? And from the baseline to the end of the research, the practices had helped people connect to that meaning of themselves and life better. I'm going to finish with this. This is two lovely pictures for me. One is after COVID, Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche went to visit Lopon, and they hadn't seen each other for a while, and so that picture was, it felt like radiant to me. And the other one is the last time I was with Lopon, and so last October, and so I wanted to share that. And for anyone who needs my info there and connect, that's there too. So that's that part. Now those slides. So we're gonna do some practices, but before that, I wanted to see if there's any questions so far. We have half an hour more? What's, yes. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay. No questions. You know what Lopon used to say when there were no questions? He said, either everything is very clear or they have no clue where to start asking. So I hope it's the first one. Or if it is the second, we'll get some more time. Now, I'll probably recommend some of you, if now that we have a little more room, if it's okay to ask you to move to a place where you can extend a little more. Just so you don't hit your friend next to you. Or if you want to hit your friend next to you, you can stay in that place. Or you can, what do they call when? Stagger. You can stagger. Okay. So I was saying we have this central channel is really the main part of awakening our sacred body. And in a way, so yesterday, remember what was for those of you who were here, what's the most important element that I was mentioning? Space, right? So in a way, is connecting to that space, to that spaciousness. And in fact, Rinpoche wrote this beautiful poem that says, the center of our body, the center of our victorious mandala, of our Buddha mandala, our body, is the source of all positive qualities without exception. And it's in the expanse. Expanse is a word related to spaciousness. In the expanse of our channels, of the 3 channels and the 5 chakras, we can take refuge in that body of emptiness or spaciousness. So in a way, it's through these practices, as we clear, right? As we clear the gek, we're able to connect to that space and rest in that. As we rest in that spaciousness, it's like this taking refuge, feeling safe in that space. Yesterday, I was also talking about securing a boundary and how we start by feeling that the boundaries being this strong deity, this energetic wall, but the strongest is coming back to a sense of spaciousness. So again, that spaciousness is our refuge, means this is where we want to be. So in the main practice that we do with the central channel that relates to the lung or to the wind element, it's the pervasive breath. And the pervasive breath allows us to go from the center of our body mandala to the periphery, right? And in a way to clear, and then as it clears, our awareness can come back to the center. So this movement that I'll start with is a movement that allows us to release stuff and to reconnect to spaciousness. It has 4 parts. So the first part is the release part, kind of the letting go, the exhalation. And what we do is that we bend from our waist down as we exhale, and it feels the sense of release. And now, again, the mind takes the reins, brings the breath in through both nostrils into the side channels, or just feel the body, and into the central channel and hold. And now instead of exhaling, we're re-inhaling, which means it allows that breath to expand in your central channel and outwards. And then you open your arms. And as you open your arms, you feel that breath, that lung, that chi, that prana, reaching every finger, every toe, every sense organ. And as you expand, then you release through the nose and also through every pore. Just releasing. And as you release, you come back to that posture of equanimity. Right? So let me do it once, all in all 4 parts, and then see if there's questions, and then we'll do it a few times. Once you come back to that equanimity posture, you keep on breathing. You can breathe through the nose. You can still breathe through the channels if that's comfortable, into the central channel and let it dissipate. Or just breathe comfortably. Okay? Questions?
How long until you fully release? Is it intuitive?
Yeah, it's kind of, notice what feels comfortable. You want to still have the reins of the horse, meaning that sometimes we hold so much that then we are, that it went too far. And if it happens, that's okay. Next time you do it a little less. So you want to always be in control. Yeah. And
Doing a chin lock?
no lock. Actually, thanks for that question. So in this particular one, in pervasive breath, there's no bandha, there's no lock. Actually, they call it in Tibetan maninglung, which means neutral breath, which means basically you bring the breath into the central channel and you hold without lock. It's like the text says, when you inhale, you're welcoming all the nourishing qualities. When you hold it into the base, but there's no cork, no lock, no screw, nothing. And then when you re-inhale, it activates that medicine of that breath, in this case pervasive. Let it reach, and then exhale, kind of let it go. So, as we do the practice, again, I invite you to bring a hand or both hands to your heart if that is comfortable, and just kind of a check-in. How am I doing? Breathe into your heart and notice, is there anything that you want to release, that you're ready to let go? Is there any armor that you've been carrying, even if it was useful for a long time, but that maybe you don't need anymore? Or that maybe through this being in this group and the support of the group, that you're ready to at least leave the armor aside during practice and notice how it feels to be without it for a little bit. So whatever is comfortable. Breathing into your heart and noticing what you want to release, or what you're ready to release, what you want to bring to your practice. When you're ready, exhale and let go. Inhale. Welcome all those nourishing qualities. Hold it like nectar in a vase. Re-inhale. Extend, 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 extend. Exhale, let go. Hands in equanimity. Rest for a moment. Breathe in and out. We'll do it again. Back in equanimity, breathing through your nose, through the channels if useful. As we do it one more time. Keep on breathing into your central channel. Let it pervade through your mandala. And as we do it one last time, when we extend a little more. Kind of reach to the extent that it feels comfortable, and then exhale. But don't overextend it if you can. Kind of try and find that sweet spot where you extend almost to the maximum, but still you're in control. Let's try that. And as you keep on breathing, just rest, supported by the hands in equanimity, palms up, elbows out. The position of the eagle soaring in the sky, resting a little more your shoulders, opening the chest, tongue in your upper palate, eyes closed but not too tight or a little bit open, looking to the tip of your nose and downwards. Peaceful gaze. Just breathing. And slowly, still maintaining that sense of connectedness. Maybe open your eyes if they were closed and look around without losing that sense of inner connectedness. Okay. was that? Yeah, did you notice that by maybe moving, it was different, the resting? Maybe was a little more supportive? Yeah. No, yes. Yes.
On the initial exhale, when you're letting go, is it exhaling only through the nose and inhaling also through the nose on both in and out?
Yeah. So partly that is, if you noticed in the channels come from here to the nose. And so in a way, as we're breathing through the nose, we're inhaling, allowing it to come to the central channel, expand, then whatever is left, back through the nose. So these practices, we're really practicing or working more through the nose. Again, if you notice that you exhale through the mouth, it's not wrong. If some air needs to release there, that's fine. Okay. Yeah.
I notice as the breath work progresses, the extension of my arms felt more freeing. I think one of the intentional ways that I did was allowing the holding of the breath through my nose with the central channel and trusting it. And as I moved, I felt that it was easier for me to extend the last one. Is it because of breathing and also at the same time with intention of releasing and no expectation? Was that a part of the process? So simple, but I feel like it's quite profound when you really create a quality attention to every step.
Great. Yeah, yeah. So slowly, as you get more familiar, we use this word trust. So this trust is really important. Now you're trusting yourself, you're open, trusting and allowing yourself to be open. So you're able to release. That's wonderful.
I was consciously thinking about what I wanted to release and I focused it here. I think that was super helpful when you mentioned focus on the central channel. It's the heart chakra, right? Which is the connection of the body. So I really appreciate that.
Good, good. Great. Anyone else?
Withdrawn.
Well, actually, I have something to say. I felt that movement piece and the expansiveness and the doing, like you said, and then coming back to that stillness. You could feel the settling into the stillness. It was more still for me than if I just tried to go into it without that piece. So that was really helpful.
There's more stillness when we are relaxed. Because we are letting go of the effort.
Yeah.
Right? So when we're doing, there's effort in all that, and then we're good, great. So that one we actually call the inner Tsa Lung of pervasive breath. So I want to show you now the external Tsa Lung for pervasive breath. And in the external Tsa Lung, we don't start with the exhalation, at least we don't bend. Of course, we kind of can exhale all the stale breath, but it's really about inhaling, again, same way, and holding, all that is the same, re-inhaling and expanding. But now, instead of just extending and releasing from here, we're gonna do this. We're gonna rub our hands, create some energy, and go into all parts of the body, from the head to the torso, to the back, to the legs, to the arms. And then after the massage of all the areas, and particularly areas where we feel stuck, we're going to extend in this way. This extension we call the extension of the bow to shoot an arrow, but we're not shooting arrows, okay? We're just extending bows. And so if anyone has done the thing of bow and arrow, there's a little bit of tension in that. So as you tension there, what you want to feel is internally there's opening, right? So we're going to do it 1, 2, 3 to the right. Still breathe, still holding the breath. 3 to the other side.
Do you exhale?
Sorry?
Do you exhale as you pull?
Nope, not yet. Now, as you finish the 3 and 3, now you exhale. Through every pore, come back. We're actually going to do it 3 times, and the first time we're going to do 3 to each side. If it feels comfortable, the second time we'll do 4 to each side. If it didn't feel comfortable, then you do 3 or you do 2. It's not a competition of how many you do, and it's better to each one to really feel the extension rather than trying to 1, 2, 3, 4, you're not doing anything, right? So you really want to do, even if it's 1, 1. So I'll do it 1 time, see if there's questions, and then we'll do it together. And you're still breathing from the side channels, central channels, pervasive breath. No holding, no holding, no holding. Okay? But again, we do 3, 4, 5, we call it kale, kale, slowly, slowly, right? There's no hurry, there's no competition. Even if you do 1 to each side is great. So it's not about how many you do. Okay?
Can you review the breath again?
Sure. Then movement. Breath, exhale. The subtle exhalation is through every pore, and the other is so the channels are kind of where that, as David White would say, the pneumatic, air, all the air part, and some is fluid and this is air moving out, releasing. Releasing in this way and releasing through every pore. So a lot of times, when we massage different parts of the body, we're going particularly to areas that things are stuck. Stuck could be because of physical stuck. Stuck could be because emotional. We have all our emotional closets that we get things and we want to release. Mental stuff, spiritual stuff. And so when we release, there's a sense of release it all, let it go. Trust, just let it go. Rest. Rest with a little more awareness there. Do it again. Yeah. Okay. And see in terms of releasing and bring, whatever intention you had before, keep on that same intention. So we breathe in, hold, re-inhale, Extend. Three times to the right. Three to the left. Exhale. Breathing, especially into the central channel, pervasive breath. And as we do it again, if it's comfortable, we extend to 4 times to each side in the extending the bow. Otherwise, stay in 3 or even go down to 2, whatever is good for you. Breathing into your central channel, pervasive breath, that wind element. Releasing, 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 allowing you to stay centered. And as we do it one more time, if we want to reach to 5 times each side for the extending the bow, you could do it, otherwise less, whatever is good for you. Bringing the hands back to equanimity. Keep on breathing into the central channel. Keep allowing that pervasive breath to release through all the parts of your body mandala. Release all from the emotions. Release thoughts, ideas. Release spiritual clutteredness. Release. Rest. So how was that? I see smiles. Is that, how does it feel? Was it, well, I don't want to say what it was for me. How was it for you? Yeah.
So for me, a lot of heat, a lot of energy. Like my hands are on fire.
Yeah, it was really nice to work with that not locking, just holding more from an internal, more centralized place. And yeah, I just feel more relaxed, and I definitely feel like I got some cell.
Right.
Yeah, I found it very powerful. It was both expanding but also grounding.
I came in here really tired today, and I was afraid that it was just going to be just straight meditation. It's my first time here too, so I was like, I don't want to be that guy that just falls asleep and falls out of his chair the first day. So energizing into rest was really, really helpful for me. It actually allowed me to rest without feeling like I was about to keel over. Thanks.
Great. Wonderful. So, I'm gonna ask you, boss, if I can I go over a little bit? Do you guys have time, like 10 more minutes, or do we have to finish right on time?
I would just offer to folks that they give them a good time they could leave, just to honor folks.
Yeah, if you have to. Basically, what I thought I would do, I mean, I can also end here, but I know this movement that I'm gonna teach, but I just thought I might wanna share it, which is a movement I mentioned yesterday a little bit about life force breath. And life force, yesterday we were talking about burnout and about this sense of losing what we would call in the Tibetan tradition, the Tsa Lung, or the life force. And so I thought that maybe be useful for some of you to do that if you wanna. Of course, you can all.
Please.
Okay. So again, thank you. For those who need to leave, it's fine, and for the same online, but for those who stay, I'll share this movement. And so yesterday we were talking also how part of these has to do with the soul, what we call soul retrieval, or retrieving from the elements. And when we talk about elements, of course, first of all, the five elements in our tradition are wind, fire, water, which we worked yesterday, and then earth and space, right? And so you can think of the external element, but also each one brings different supports to us, right? So when we think of earth, it's more of a grounding, right? But as I was saying yesterday, it's kind of a temporal grounding, because as we know here, as we know in other places, the earth shakes and sometimes it doesn't feel so grounding. So remember, what's the most unmovable, I almost said it, right? Unmovable element, right? Space, right? And so space, you can have, rockets through it. It's always fine, right? And so partly we want to have that sense of grounding, but also connecting to that. So in a way, the earth is the temporal grounding, space is the permanent. It's actually, in the philosophy in Tibetan, is the only permanent phenomena is space, right? So it's always back to space. Now, heart relates to space. So when we do this life force, when we breathe into the heart and hold and re-inhale, again, there's no bandha, but there's a kind holding there. Then we extend the right arm, and then we're going to bring it in. And as we bring in, we bring the power of the five elements. So earth is more of a grounding, air is more flexibility, water is more relaxed, fire is more energy, and space is kind of the allowing of all of that to bring it to us. And so when we do this movement, there's both a sense of opening in this area, right? And of bringing in whatever we have lost, right? Yesterday, we talked about burnout, we talked a little bit about grief, so kind of bringing in those parts that we need to bring in. And again, we'll start by 3 times and 3 times. And in this one, we're still holding as we also open a little more our heart 3 times, and then we exhale. And as we exhale, we are exhaling through the nose, but we're also exhaling through the heart. There's almost a sense of like a valve, right? And again, don't think of the chakra just forward, think in all directions. So it's like really release. You know, in Spanish, sometimes we say that when we have like this strong emotions, or even with grief, we have like a stone in our heart. Right? So sometimes we need to loosen it, to soften it, right? So we can, so that's what we are releasing, right? And then again, as we do it, we'll do it maybe 4 times to each side if that is comfortable, and release, and then the last one 5. But let me do it once, see if there's questions, and then we'll do it together. This one, as we keep on breathing, we're breathing specifically back to the space of our heart. Okay. Should we do it? So I'm going to add something that I did yesterday. It's not part of the text, but I feel it's good, which is a little apapacho to our heart. And just kind of as we do that, just notice how you feel, and that you are here giving, holding with care, with compassion to yourself and your whole being, at the center of your being, the center of your heart. So whatever we feel tired, we feel not enough, we feel all these things, remember that you are a Buddha. You are complete. You have that potential to recuperate, to refill what is needed. And so just notice, what do you need? And maybe it's related to one of more of those elements that you need to retrieve and bring back to yourself. And also notice that we are all together here and online, supporting each other in doing this. So when we're ready, we bring the hands to the waist, we breathe into the heart, hold, re-inhale, extend the right arm 3 times, this lasso movement, 3 times the other hand. Still holding, opening the right side of the chest and the left. And exhale. Keep on breathing back into your heart, particularly with those qualities that you need more. maybe more earth, more fire, more wind, more water, more space. And as we do it again, if it's comfortable, we do it 4 times, otherwise less. Keep on breathing into your heart. And as we do it one more time, if it's comfortable, extend to 5, otherwise less. Keep on breathing to the space of your heart. Rest as these qualities nourish you. Maybe you need the support of a hand, of both hands, on your heart as you keep on breathing there. Into that space. Space of purification, space of healing, space of completeness. And allow all that nourishing in your heart to expand through every cell of your body. Let it all be nourished, all your mandala. Let it nourish you emotionally, mentally, spiritually. To empower you to bring those qualities to others, heart to heart. Sometimes we say this is like nectar that we gather and now we pour it in the ocean so it's there for everyone, including ourselves. When we do that, we say this is dedicating the merits. So I'll do one of the many dedications just as a way of empowering that sense of sharing. Hold the pure virtue. virtues done through the three doors, I dedicate to the benefit of all sentient beings, having purified all afflictions and obscurations. Of the three times may we accomplish or generate the three bodies, the three kayas of Dharma kaya, Sambhava kaya, Nirvana